Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Strategy Game Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey. And today we're going to talk about when you're at the end of the road. And this was a really short blog post that I wrote that came to me. And I'll just read part of it because I think that's helpful. It says, you know what's wild about things that seem like the end of the road? I've come to realize that oftentimes they're just the beginning. They're the beginning of a new path, a new way, a new mindset, a new road, if we're watching for it. So this is the key part of this. Be watchful. Observe your surroundings right now. Look for certain signs. Pay attention to the things that seemingly just happen. Sometimes the end of the road comes when we need it the most. The end of something means the beginning of something else. So I think this is a really important phrase, the end of the road, for us to recognize and think about, not only when it comes to our businesses, but also when it comes to our lives. I have a book recommendation for you. It's from Henry Cloud. He's one of my very favorite authors and thought leaders on life and also business. He's written Integrity, which is a fantastic business book. It was written maybe about 10 years ago now, but timeless, worth the read, one of my top 10. But he also wrote the book Necessary Endings, and that is a fantastic read. It was very freeing for me to read that book because what I realized was that sometimes I have a tendency, and maybe you do too in some situations, to hold on to things longer than necessary. And by holding on, I mean that I somehow feel that I have a sense of control over the situation if I'm holding on to it, if I'm making things happen, so to speak. And so, I think when it comes to our businesses, we have to make things happen, and that's very important to do and to practice. But I think there comes a tipping point where we're not just making things happen by moving things forward, we're making things happen by trying to control or strong arm something into happening when it might actually be an end of the road. And so it's important to take a step back and look at each decision point that's seemingly a major decision point and say to yourself, is this the end of this road? And do I need to clear this out? Is this a necessary ending in order for the beginning of a new road that's going to bring something else and going to bring something most likely better? And I think our human nature is to tend to resist the end of the road, because the end of the road or a necessary ending means change, and our human nature does not like change. So we naturally resist the end of the road. But if we're able to recognize our pattern here and that we naturally tend to resist the end of the road, then we are better equipped to see it coming and say, hey, I recognize that this is the dynamic that happens with me, that this could be a potential end of the road. I'm not sure. I need to now be watchful. I need to now be intentional about having some, like we talked about in a previous episode, active and or passive rest, so that I can really look at things and I can observe what's happening and I can reflect first and then act. In one of our previous workshops, we talked about this dynamic: reflect first and then act. If you always go to a place of reflection first, your actions will be much more intentional, meaningful, and impactful in accordance with whatever your vision or mission is. So if we're able to operate in that space, we're going to recognize the end of a particular road, whatever that looks like. And that could mean the end of working for someone. For some of us, that could look like the end of a particular position that we're operating in. It could look like the end of practicing certain tasks and moving into a space where we need to delegate those because we need more free space to move into, who we are, who we're created to be, what our purpose is, or a new position, right? And that's the new road. So I would just encourage you to make sure that you're being watchful, first of all, for maybe the end of the road or any necessary endings, that you're not jumping into them flippantly, but reflecting first and then acting. So reflecting from a place of active and or passive rest. If you've had a chance to just practice that, pull back a bit. You can always pull back, sleep on it, always, without a knee-jerk reaction. And then you can move into what you think might be a transition point. And this is just encouragement for you today. If you're going through a necessary ending or an end of the road and you're feeling discouraged, because I've been through this, where a position or an opportunity completely crumbled. And I thought, I don't know where the next step is. I have nowhere to go from here. And I felt hopeless about it. But I'll tell you that now looking back, I see that that was very necessary. And if I hadn't grown from that opportunity, if my character hadn't developed more, if I hadn't persevered, and also if I hadn't released control and said, okay, like, let's let it go, let's release it, then I wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't have had a lot of beginnings of new roads that have led to so much more fulfillment and greater contentment. So thanks for listening in today. As always, if you're looking for more of this type of content, you can head to www.storywork.co.